I'm going to train, work, study, and I'm here to do what I have to do just to get where I want to go. I'm working hard. I'm locked in, trusting the process right now, chopping wood and carrying water, so to speak, to show that if you're 100% focused and dedicated, that you can do it. You don't have to be afraid of anyone. And I think that's a very, very good, very happy place to be when you realize that, wow, the hard work works. Like it's possible for me to focus and then produce results, and these results can be the kind of results that I want. Not always. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm doing the best in the world right now, but in my mind, I'm always the best. In my mind, I'm always competing for that top spot, because that's the position that I put myself in order to do the necessary work that I have to do. I can always show up and I'll compete on any given metric. You know, this could vary from academically, physically, within sport. I honestly never think of myself as anything less than the absolute best on my best day. And then the difference becomes how much work has to be put in order to get to that best day. Because there are a lot of people who are a lot more genetically blessed than me in each of these particular departments. But I do believe that there's no one who can outcompete me when I'm fully locked in and focused on any particular department. And then that gives me the ability to be the best overall. You know what I'm saying? Like in my mind, I really genuinely think that I'm the best. Like an example is academically, there are subjects in which I am outright the best. Maybe not by large margins, but I am number one. And that being in that position for me is because I put the work in, ahead of time, which is like, oh, okay, cool. So it is as I believed before. Because listen, before in my life, like all throughout high school, for example, I didn't really do fantastically in most subjects. Only the subjects that I really cared about that seemed to, not just come naturally, but I enjoyed working in. And when I focused, I got the result that I wanted. Those are the subjects that attracted me, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna work with you because you want to work with me." When it comes to like certain other ones where I feel like number one, I don't want to pay that much attention to you. But number two, when I do pay a little bit of attention, you're not giving me like feedback, positive feedback, bro. Like and that's not a cute position to be in when you put that work in and it just doesn't net the result that you would like or anything close to it. I mean, a great example is math. I was doing math earlier this year, and I lock in, I focus, and to be honest, I can really understand that the particular content that was covered in that particular test paper wasn't my favorite content, and I still was able to net very close to an A, probably a couple percent, like 2% away from an A, which is not bad at all. That's good considering that. Wow, okay, I locked in, then I was able to produce. But the thing is, in other subjects, I logged in and I was able to produce well above, well above an A, like in the 90 something percent, right? 90 something percent, the 80 something percent. That's where I'm usually striking. So with this one particular subject that, like I said, in high school, I didn't really pay that much attention to. Um, just because I found that, like again, the consistency of the content covered is never the content that I'm excellent in. For example, I've always been excellent at Euclidean geometry. Euclidean geometry, I was insane. Algebra, insane. There's certain particular things, but then the ones that I'm good at are not the ones that are often covered. And so I'm like, yeah, this game of yours is rigged for me not to win, or it's rigged for people with brains like mine to not perform the best. Like, of course, I can be among the best because I'm a regularly like, or I'm an all round smart dude, but I can't really compete with the best of the best because the platform that you're providing to compete on is not fair. It's not fair across the board. Like, so if the game is rigged for you to win, I'll just not play. That's that's just me. That's just me. That's how I felt in that position. So there are those certain situations where you're like, I feel like the best way to win this game is just not to participate, and that's what you do, and that's a choice that you make at that time, right? But right now I'm in a position where, although, say for example, I got that very close to an A B, I have dominated in the rest, and in the ones that I've been beaten in, it's by margin of percentages, which means we both got an A, but you might have gotten a better A, and then the competition slipped on one of the other ones, and I didn't, you know, which means I still got that A, or maybe I'm trying to think now of this particular thing that I'm talking about. Yeah, I do believe that I still got that A, or I got very, or again, I got very close to it, and then no one else came close to getting it. But that's because I'm working so hard on the fundamentals that although I don't consistently have the shortcuts to produce, maximum results in the shortest amount of time, what happens is, because I have those fundamentals, I can never miss. So it's not necessarily a thing of, wow, when I hit it, I knock it out the park. To be in the Hall of Fame of baseball, you just need 300. That's three every 10. Every 10 times you go to bat, if you get three, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. And we are really living true to that spirit, in terms of, it's not necessarily about knocking out the park every single time, but it's about just having a solid set. Every single time you go bat, you have a solid set, you know and therefore, to conclude, that is why I believe that even in that, even academically, I'm coming through, trying to, like, put myself in a position to just be the best overall, not necessarily because I nailed it every single time, but because I'm so locked in and focused that my overall package is undeniable, you know and so you may be more gifted in this domain, you may be in that domain, you may be in this domain, and it won't make sense when I come out as the victor, and then when they pull back, they'll realize, like, oh, this guy was competing for top spots in everything, whereas you had the top spot in this, you had the top spot in that, he had the top spot in another one, but in the ones that he didn't win, he came second. And then you realize, like, oh, okay, touche. you know so I say this to say that when we talk, or when you hear me saying this phrase, when they hear me say I'm going to do what I have to do just to get where I want to go, and when you're 100% focused and dedicated, you don't have to be afraid of anyone. What it means is, 100% focused and dedicated doesn't mean that you nail it every single time. 100% focused and dedicated can mean that when you do show up, you are showing up, you are actively there, and you sometimes are able to, like, even in the situations where you can't come out on top, you're able to make it as close as possible. You're able to give as much as you can possibly give, and if you give as much as you can possibly give every time, then what you'll find, that you will win. You'll win here, you'll come very close to winning here, you'll come very close to winning there, and then you'll win again. And what you'll find is that, overall, in the grand scheme of things, it's unquestionable, it's undeniable, and that's why you don't have to be afraid of anybody, because you do have your gifts. Then, in conjunction with those gifts, you have your work ethic, and where your gifts fall short, your work ethic will supplement. You know, and that's one domain. If you look at the other domains, if you look at your physique, your physicality, how to get that in a good position. Again, it's not necessarily that you show up and you do incredibly every single time. I mean, myself right now, I'm losing strength every week. I'm getting weaker and weaker at this stage of the game. But that's because right now training is not the priority. It's far from it. You know, but physique wise, I'm getting better and better every single week, because I'm also getting, because I'm not eating that much. I'm not putting that much strength on. But as you can see, the arms are hugging the sleeve in this, and I was probably heavier at some point, and they weren't hugging the sleeve. Why? Is it because I just washed it and it's airtight? No, that's not the case. You know, It's that I am growing. So I'm getting weaker and growing and looking better all at the same time. And that right there is something where you need to realize that what's going on externally, sometimes the metrics, the numbers don't reflect the internal change. Sometimes there's a visual change. And I'm talking specifically now when it comes to the body. Sometimes there is a visual change, and there is a change in measurements even. So I guess those are numbers that do reflect, but we're not necessarily measuring ourselves every time, and it might be by centimeters at a time that we are growing, but the scale may be going down or maybe staying exactly the same. In my case, it's staying exactly. I've been 75 kgs for like a couple of months now, and my strength has actually gone down. Like not too long ago, I was squatting 140 for six. But at that time, I do believe that my eating, my meal frequency was much higher. Like right now, I'm only eating twice a day. You know, I'm only eating twice a day, two big meals, and I feel good doing that. And so I'm not gonna adjust it. I'm not gonna change it. Like even though I do pride myself on being the strongest guy in the gym, or on like again on my best day, I am one of the strongest people that has ever walked God's green earth. And with enough time and training, I could literally be the strongest person to ever walk God's green earth. But that's not the priority right now. Like right now, like in my mind, right, I'm in a place where I've been super strong. I've deadlifted over 200 kgs. I've squatted 140 kgs for 10, um, 12 at my best, at my very strongest. I did three plates for 12, and that was about what 17, 18 that time. Naturally. So I really feel like in terms of the genetic potential, I've proven everything that I have to prove to myself. I mean, I was benching 110 for sets of 10. Um, and then so squats, bench, deadlift. Yeah, so in terms of strength, I have no question internally of who I am and what I can do, when that is the focus. And so I don't feel the need to focus on that right now. Not to say that I'm gonna go my entire life without focusing on that. I mean, maybe there'll come a time where I'm like, man, I just want to get huge. I want to get big right now. You know, right now I'm in a place where I do want to get big, and getting big doesn't mean necessarily getting stronger. um, Not necessarily. It's more so about the effort exerted at a certain weight point, at a certain rep range, and how consistently you can push yourself to that point. For example, I could do 140 kgs for six, right, on the squat. I'm losing strength. Now I can maybe do 120 for six. If I'm doing that 120 for six, the effort level that it takes for me to do that may be equal to the one that I had above that, because of various things, including like the strength level at the time, whatever. And so the body may be in another position that is forcing it to grow, because it feels like, wow, since we've pulled the fuel back and we're still demanding strength, I need to grow more muscle regardless. And since I'm not getting enough food, I'm going to burn body fat in order to gain that strength. As long as your strength continues to be at a good enough spot. It doesn't have to be at the maximum spot in order for you to grow muscle. As long as it's in a good place, and you're moving weight, and you're pushing to failure, and you can do other things, you can push volume, you can push intensity, then the strength doesn't have to be that high, and you can still put on muscle. And then finally, because we're talking about doing what we have to do, to get where we want to go, and we've covered the mental side of things. A while back we are talking about reading the books. Now we're talking about academically. When we talk about the physique, I think a while ago we were pushing strength and size, and right now it's more size. We always want to be getting bigger, um, but it's size, it's lean muscle tissue. At almost at whatever cost. Um, Meaning the methodology has changed from trying to push food and get bigger, and not minding if you get a little bit sloppy, which is that's how you get maximum muscle gain. Right now I'm not looking for maximum muscle gain. I just want to look as good as possible, nice and lean, just yeah, just to be a proper, physique dude, continue to gain muscle maturity, all that good stuff. I'm happy doing that right now, and so that's what we're doing. We have to mention, the other side of things. I mean, we talk about people, talk about relationships, all that stuff. Yeah, to do what you have to do to get where you want to go relationally. I mean, it may mean many things to many different people. For myself right now, I think I'm just, just having conversations, casual conversations, trying to figure people out. In terms of, finding that one particular person that I get along with best. Out of the herd that I'm rolling with right now, I think there are a couple of things that I have my eye on that I'm trying to develop, a couple of storylines I'm trying to develop. But ultimately, again, I don't put it out of my mind ever that whoever I'm talking to may be that one. But I feel like when you know. And right now, I don't know. I don't know for certain, but hey, perhaps I will, and perhaps it will be that same person in terms of it may be physically the same human being, but their mentality may shift and develop into something that I find more so attractive at some point in the future. So yeah, that's going on. Networking still going on. Hoping to have a little get together in the next or after the next month. After the exam period is over. Hoping to bring together some really good people. Um, and for me, networking isn't always I want to meet people. It's also I would like this person to meet that person. I feel like these two people would get along. Um, it's also an opportunity just to let the hair down. I do believe that letting your hair down can be very important. Um, I understand that to some people it's not. It's really not important at all, and some would argue that to me it's not very important at all, considering that it is June and it's probably going to be the second time that I'm meeting with friends. Yeah, probably going to be the second time, like in terms of in this type of setting. Still only drank I think a handful of times this year. Even a handful seems like an exaggeration. Probably 3 4 times at this point. So the hand is going to be full by next month. And we're halfway through the year where there are people who go out every weekend, there are people who go out every other weekend, there are people who go out every month. Whatever the case is. And that's just not the reality for me. So some may say that even for me, letting the hair down is not something that I prioritize very much, which it is not. But for me, it is a part of life. It is a part of life that I want to live. I do want to um, enjoy the finer things in life. I do want to not just experience, but like truly enjoy. And that sometimes means just rolling out with peers. It isn't always I want to link up with my best friends in the world, but very often for me it is that. It's like, man, who am I the coolest with right now? You know what I'm saying? It's like I just want to chill and hang out with the people that I'm the coolest with right now. And in my case, it seems to be that there are people that that I'm hanging out with throughout my life, people that I've known since high school. Um, and it's genuinely like a handful of people that I just seem to enjoy their company. They seem to be having the same ambitions, etc. as myself. Same type of mentalities, and I feel like we are a bunch that stays quite focused and locked in for prolonged periods of time. And so I think the question who provides for the provider. The question who provides enjoyment for the focused. And I think the focus should provide enjoyment for the focused, because with anyone else we won't really be enjoying our time, because there would be no point. For example, in most get-togethers, in most soirees, there's no point at which people are talking money, people are talking dreams, people are talking focus, people are talking commitment. In most get-togethers, that's not happening. So if we can get the type of people who talk about those things and we put them together and they have a little bit of enjoyment, I feel like that would be just a really positive environment, a good reset. A reminder that hey, you're not alone. we're out here, we're grinding, and we're trying to get it done, doing what we have to do just to get where we want to go. Um, and yeah, that's basically been a little bit of a life update, um, on that premise of being locked in, focusing, dedicating yourself, but also a subtle reminder there at the end that it's not like life is not limited to focus and dedicating yourself. Yes, you want to spend the majority of your time doing that, not just because of what it produces in terms of the external, but what it produces in terms of the internal. You know, not just because of what happens on the outside when you do so, but because of who you become on the inside. And I do believe sincerely that you want to spend most of your life in deliberate pain, not in the type of pain that's just unnecessary and heartbreak and all that whatever, but you want to spend your life working really hard and not necessarily enjoying yourself, but enjoying the process. If that makes any sense at all, then please let me get a sage thank you in the comments down below. Let me get an amen in the comments down below. Not necessarily enjoying yourself, but enjoying the process. Meaning it may be causing discomfort at that particular moment in time, but in the grand scheme of things, if you feel like, you know what, say for example, now I'm gonna go work out, I may be enjoying myself during it, but some workouts I don't enjoy myself. Yesterday's leg workout, I didn't sleep. That was stupid of me. I didn't eat before, which is okay because I usually don't eat before workouts, especially if I'm working out in the morning. You know, but that's no problem for me, but it's still factors, right, that come together that contribute, to the overall feeling of the workout, the pump or lack thereof, those type of stuff. So it wasn't necessarily an enjoyable workout, but how I felt afterwards, knowing that, man, I really didn't want to do that, but I did, because that's what matters to me, because that's what I want to do. I enjoyed that. And so that's what I'm talking about, is that sometimes when you're within the process, most times you want to be enjoying yourself. But if you end up not enjoying yourself most times, the reward in who you feel that you are after going through it is the goal in itself. So you want to make sure that that is what the majority of your life is filled with, but you also want to make sure that it's not all that your life is. Or for me personally, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life, but for me, living my life, I feel that that's cool, that's beautiful, the process. But I believe it was Dwayne Johnson, who's someone that I drew a lot of inspiration from, especially when I was younger. Even now, still. He was asked on a show. He was on with Speedy. He's being interviewed by Speedy. I don't know if you guys know Speedy, but anyway, he asked Dwayne Johnson, and so when do you enjoy yourself? When do you just let your hair down and take it all in? Have you ever stopped and just what, it's not so bad. Like just that little, because while we're in the process, and regardless of what level you're at, and I know because I've been at each level, I've village life, township, suburb, like I've been at each, no matter where you are, no matter how much your life is difficult or sucks, or whether there's food in the fridge that day or not. um there are always moments within every situation that are savorable, because this is life. Life is a beautiful thing. You can derive joy from many, many things. And so the question was, when have you ever just, or when do you find the moments to stop and take it all in and enjoy it? Because we're not working for the sake of working. I mean, imagine working every single day of your life and then dying. you know like, if that's all you did, like, you never stop, you never spend time with family, you never spend time with, you're just investing all this time just to die. And there's no payout. Like, there's never any payout. You never just enjoy the time. You're always investing, investing, investing. And like I said, I believe you need to spend most of your time investing, so that when those fruits come out, man, you can really, really enjoy those. with the people that you like to have around you. But then, yeah, the question was, when do you ever spend the time? And he waited and he said he thought about it and he was like, hmm. And at the time, he was just, yeah, just, I just do my fishing and I work out, and it was cool. But then he hit Speedy up afterwards, with a follow up, and he's like, "Man, I actually thought about what you said, and I realized that I don't." He said, "I realized that I don't really enjoy it. I don't really stop, and it's been a while since he's like actually stopped and just taking it all in. I'm like, damn, I'm Dwayne the Rock Johnson, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the Rock. Like, I own this, that. Like, like he never really stopped, or he hasn't stopped in a while to just take it all in. It's always next thing, next thing, next thing. And so he was like, yo, thank you, because I really hadn't thought of that, and really truly, like there comes a time he's like, man, I should go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? I should take a week or two and then freaking like hit a hotel, like hit a private villa with the family and just enjoy life, you know. And so, not to like knock him or anything like that, but instead learning a lesson from that, which is, man, I don't want to be in that. Because imagine if he never has that conversation, he never realizes that, and then at the end of his life, on his deathbed, he's like, man, I wish I had like enjoyed the success that I've been able to mount over the years, or just enjoyed life. It's not even necessarily a success thing. Sometimes it's just, bro, I wish I'd enjoyed life. I wish I had just taken steps back and just relaxed and just realized how far I've come, where I'm at, and how good of a job I'm doing at this life thing. And a good job in terms of what you envision for yourself is what you have, is what you achieve. I think that's a good thing. And so, yeah, we do want those career goals. We do want those physical goals, but also that cherry on top. You want it to be a cherry on top, not too much. Just a little some here and there, to remind yourself that you're